Sup, everybody? We're starting a little bit late today. Well, I end extremely late anyways nowadays with these streams. It doesn't really matter. But bad takes, we all have them, right? I mean, maybe not everybody. Some people don't prefer to give takes. Some people want to stay neutral, or some people wait until the topic has matured to give takes. But I am somebody who has come and gone with some pretty interesting takes, even if I do say so myself. All right. We are in Star Rail, but we're going to be reacting to some videos today. The topic of discussion is more so about myself and how I deal with it when a take of mine has obviously not aged well, or straight out the gate was never really too sauced up, if that makes sense to anybody, right? I've had some bad takes, and even at the top of my head, I know a couple that haven't done so well. Like immediately, I remember. I think the clearest one that I remember is my Yoimiya take, where I said Yoimiya is like, she's gonna be a good character overall, and to an extent even rival Hu Tao, right? That's what I saw for her. But Yoimiya doesn't really, like, on paper, even till this day on paper, it just seems like she should work very well and be somewhat competitive to Hu Tao, but she just isn't. The auto targeting, the auto attack sequencing, which if you fail, right, if you somehow stop auto attacking, you have to restart, and it hurts her DPS so much. So for the people who never played Yoimiya, like, that's something I failed to take into account, is that how detrimental it was for Yoimiya players to stop their auto attack strings. And with the type of enemies nowadays that shoves you around endlessly, it's an absolute nightmare to play this character at times, right? There's too much restrictions. And sometimes, like back in the day with characters like Bennett, also failed to take into account that you know, with her auto attack pushing her back, it was also difficult to keep her within Bennett's circle. So it's like, I'm just giving an example, but like takes like these don't really age well, and I haven't really come back to take accountability, saying like, you know, I was wrong. And of course, I always tell you guys, nothing I say is of certainty, and even like, it may sound like I'm confident when I'm saying it, but that's because I truly believe it. The one thing I can guarantee you guys is, like, I'm not saying something for the fact of saying something. I'm saying something in the moment because I truly believe it, right? That's the difference. I believe is that at the very least, in that very moment when I'm saying it, I actually do believe it to be true. That's why I say it. Now, a lot of people, so what, like, let's also talk about why we're even talking about this. It's because somebody came to me in Discord, and let me see. Somebody came to me in Discord and was like, you know, Walrus, what would be cool? It would be cool if you kind of talk about your previous takes and how you've gotten hate for them, because there's people who knows me through other people's review of my bad takes, right? Get that? Now, of course, there's also people who found me through other people's review of my good takes, but more often than not, people will look at you like for the back takes, right? So let's see. Wait a minute, who said it? Oh yeah, I found it. I want to ask your opinion, giving feedback, obviously, to like, oh yeah, so they say to like haters and people spread misinformation. It's in a very large disproportionate amount of hate for certain takes of your opinion. You've had the same as somebody else. So basically, they're saying like they want me to address what the hell happened to my Bronya? What the hell happened to my Bronya? Wow, this would have been a pretty good one if it was either attack or speed. Well, too bad. as you guys can see, today we're doing a little bit of artifact grinding, but mostly we're going to be talking about the subject. Isemper, my friend, welcome back to the fold. Thank you for the support. Lightning MCK says, gotta agree, every time I pick up Yoimiya and build team, think, damn, this will be so strong, and in the end I'm always disappointed. Yeah, that's the thing with Yoimiya, is because a lot of her scaling also is capped towards C6. So like her most upper constellations are what people mostly go hunt for, which is also problematic because goddamn, like if you're gonna hunt for a C6 character, especially nowadays, why wouldn't you go for, I mean, I guess anyone else would have a similar C6 scaling. They're not all gonna be as good. Like, I'll be honest, Yoimiya has one of the better C6s comparative to some of the other ones out there, but she is no match for some of the really good ones, right? So let's just, we're not gonna really do a C6 comparison, but that's just one of the takes. Another take that hasn't aged well is Raiden C0, right? So back in the day, I used to say, well, back in the day, even a year ago, I used to say Raiden C0 isn't what it's all chalked up to be. Now, a lot of people would argue that that is not true, because simply the international team existing is proof that Raiden is S tier. While at the same time, they would never put Tartaglia in S tier simply because Tartaglia International exists. So my statement still stands until Raiden became a really good C0 electro applicator for Dendro teams. I think once that happened, there was no way I could ever say again that Raiden C0 is just not that good. It's very good now. I think the vast majority of people don't ever need to take Raiden to C2 anymore. It's the fact that they've made Dendro and Electro work so well, and then Raiden has such a great Electro application just through her elemental skill, has made it to the point that you know, we don't ever need to take her any further because she's already peaking so hard, and you're essentially gaining less for taking her from C0 to C2, which I think some people wouldn't mind it. Like, it's because you're building a hyper carry once you take her to C2 and beyond, and hyper carries, I think Raiden is like the only character in the game that suddenly goes from being like a universal like DPS / support battery to just a hyper carry, which is a pretty cool transition for her to make, but is not one that's really needed anymore in this current day and age of our meta space. Now, we also, like, just segueing this a little bit into Folklore. I think Folklore's elemental skill probably gonna do a similar thing. I think they're gonna come. Hoyoverse has found a great pattern, is that all Archons should be able to apply their element through their elemental skill with ease and have great uptime. Zhongli with Geo. Venti is the exception, right? Because there was no pattern established when Venti first came out. So it started with Zhongli, then Raiden, then Nahida. All of them applied their elemental skill, their element through their elemental skill, and not through their burst skill. I mean, the burst could apply some, right? Zhongli has one instance of big geo damage. Raiden has one instance of big electro damage. Nahida buffs the crap out of your team's elemental mastery and whatnot. So it's not like there's a rule for their burst skill. But if Folklore can apply Hydro as consistently as Nahida and Raiden and Zhongli are applying their elements, then Folklore is going to be a great Hydro applicator, right? So that's, I think it just makes sense, since Hydro is such a sought after element to pair with other synergies, that just having the Hydro Archon elemental skill apply Hydro to that extent is gonna be just cracked. So that's something I'm setting for the future. But yeah, so I've given you guys a couple example of my bad takes, and I do, like I keep saying, I do admit to saying that now looking in hindsight, those haven't aged well at all, right? So you can also say I was wrong, and if you want to hear me say it, I was wrong. However, there are a slew of takes that I have had which have panned out extremely well, right? For example, I believe I think this is the one that I got a lot of initial hate for as well, is that saying that Ganyu has a role in being a support. Right? I think this take, and I think it has been accentuated to the point where because Tectone said it. I remember because Tectone first said it, and anybody who sided with him at the time was just seen as like a villain. But I didn't even know Tectone said that. I think I even said it before Tectone did. I'll be honest with you guys. I think I said it a day or two before he did, because I remember my video coming out, and then literally, I think it was just a day or a couple hours. It was very close. I remember watching that video. I was like, God damn, that he just said pretty much everything I said in my video. And it turned out that he got a lot of flack for it, which I ended up getting a lot of flack for it as well. So Tectone said Ganyu is a support because of her skill. Well, I thought Ganyu was a support because she had a permanent uptime burst skill, which I believe who's the other character in the game who has that? Was it Noelle? There's another character that had it, but it was a 4-star. But and they couldn't utilize it nearly as well as Ganyu could. Ganyu had a huge ass AoE cryo application that's just in of itself dealt an insane amount of damage, right? And eventually it got turned into the, like, a lot of people want to say Ganyu never was designed to be a support, but her role in what's it called? What was that team called again? Oh, I'm drawing a blank. It's the Morgana. Her role in Morgana basically led people to believe that she was going to dominate the meta in that regards for the rest of eternity, right? And as you guys know, nothing is of permanence when it comes to Genshin metas. So, like, sure, I was wrong in the short term, but as time went on, Ganyu was able to facilitate a supportive role in the game, which I think, I mean, nowadays people are now playing Melt Ganyu, which then puts her back into a main DPS role, which also what people say, like, well, Walrus, you're still wrong because people are now playing her in Melt, right? Her Melt team. But Melt Ganyu is right now quite a forced comp, in my opinion. The synergy is decent, but not great. I think we would have to see future Pyro characters, and to a certain extent, even Dendro characters to see, okay, is Ganyu a definitive Melt character? Maybe they were trying to make a Melt character with Ganyu and just failed, right? Maybe Ganyu was never designed to be a freeze-centric character. Who knows? But I think my statement still stands that Ganyu's overall kit just works extremely. I mean, she could be both, right? Like, her scaling with her charge attack could allow her to be a DPS, like a main DPS, on-field, sustained DPS. But her burst skill and her elemental skill definitely could push her towards being a support, right? I do believe a character can fulfill both of these roles, but in my vision, Ganyu was always supposed to be like a supportive DPS character, meaning she deals damage periodically. She'll come on to fill the downtime of whatever main carry you have. Let's say I play her with Ayaka, Ganyu, Kokomi, and then Shinhe, and I find that whenever Ayaka needs to get off the field, right, I've used up all of Shinhe's quills, I used Ayaka's burst, I use Ayaka's elemental skill, I can always switch off, use Ganyu's elemental skill, use Ganyu's burst, 1 to 2 charge attacks into Shinhe, rinse and repeat. It's just stuff like this, and I think Ganyu fills downtime extremely well. One of the best characters to fill downtime because her DPS has essentially 0 cost to it, right? So that's just another example of my take that I think has aged well. I think so. Tech Devices didn't say on the recent Abyss video that you need 5-star constellations to full clear this Abyss. I don't think I ever said you need to have it, but I said HoYoverse is now starting to push you towards vertical progression more so, right? It's getting to the point where you're taking much longer and you need to have many more characters invested. So let's say if you want to do horizontal investment, you have to invest in a lot more into different rosters and types and synergies than you had to before. Before, you can do like maybe 3 different teams, you should be fine. Let's be honest, like 3 different teams, well, like established meta teams, you should be fine. Nowadays, 3 well-established meta teams might not be safe anymore. So that means you have to expand to a 4th and potentially even a 5th one. Now, yes, of course, with the arrival of Dendro, you should have already been doing that. However, for like how many players are active meta players, right? How many players can say, I'm going to go into the Abyss and through my own knowledge and my own understanding of the game, I'm going to go in and clear it. 36 stars, if that's what people want. I think up to maybe like half a year ago, you could just copy and paste a meta team from even like way back, like International, Tartaglia, International, like these variants have been consistent. Even nowadays, they are consistent, but now their meta teams have shifted. It's not as simple as, oh, I'm just gonna take Tartaglia International or Raiden International and then Hu Tao in the second half and just beat everything. It's not that simple anymore. And HoYoverse don't want that. HoYoverse doesn't want it to be that simple. I'm honestly worried about International a little bit because how long will it take before HoYoverse does something about that team structure? I don't know. Right? Are they going to make both sides immune to it? What are they going to incentivize? Use like mono Geo on one side and on the other side force you to play like a Nilu Dendro team or something like that? I don't know. So it's like, but the consistency of these meta teams are great. Tech the Viruses, Sevi fully cleared it with 4-star units. It is a harder Abyss, but not unit gated even now. And I never said that, but it's harder, right? The fact that the difficulty level has risen means, what does it mean? It means you have to put in more effort. And how many people is willing to put in that effort? And oftentimes it's not just about, I'm going to put in more effort. No, it's about, I'm going to have to take my resources and put it into these characters that I had no intentions of leveling up. But HoYoverse is forcing me to level them up, because if I don't level them up, I'm going to my alternative is to go get stronger, better 5-stars, which I also don't want to do. Now I'm being funneled into less and less options. You see, Techie? It's 2 poisons. It's pick your poison. Are you going to put in your resources into characters you had no intentions of putting, or investing or pulling 4-stars even that you had no intentions of pulling or getting, or leveling up 5-stars that you actually care about, right? Oh, you really like playing I don't know, what are some 5-stars that needs a little bit of help? I'm thinking of 5-stars that probably need to start leveling up soon. So some of the older stuff, maybe. Like Eula is a great example. Of course, Eula is doable now, but it's getting the margins for Eula's capacity to clear the Abyss is shrinking slowly and slowly. It's not really her damage that's the problem. It's her kit. Oftentimes, Dia, don't bring up Dia. Dia, you were gonna mold the crap. Like Yoimiya definitely is a character that if you don't have a higher constellation Yoimiya, you're not gonna be meeting the threshold of certain DPS checks. Some she can get away with, but others she just struggles. Right? So we're starting to get to this point, and of course, HoYoverse never makes it so you have to, but it makes it very annoying for you to progress at this point in the game if you still want to do things horizontally, right? Take the virus says that is the point of the game, getting new units and building many rosters. Also good to do this from Hoyoverse perspective. So they're incentivizing you to pull and spend your resources regardless. It's just how techie. We're arguing how we're spending our resources, right? But my point is they're forcing you to spend your resources. They're not giving you much chances to hoard and save, and like they don't like it when you don't use your resource and then a character comes out, you use it all on that one character and you get them for free because you've been saving for a month. They want you to burn more resources. They want you to invest into characters that are mostly going to be sitting on the bench until you need them like 76 Abyss cycles down the road again. That's how Hoyoverse wants to push players towards. They want to push them towards that direction, right? They don't want you to be too comfortable sitting on too much. They don't need, like, they don't like it when you have too much savings in your bank. Not in RL, but like in the game, of course. They would love to have a chat with you if you had a fat savings in your bank account put away for your retirement. They'd be like, oh, retirement? How long away is that? 40 years, right? Why don't you retire with your Mia? Why don't you retire with Eula? Eula will keep you company. What is $20,000 gonna do for you in 40 years? Come on now, take that shit out. Give it to me. Give it to me. I'll give you a C6 Eula for half price. I'll give it to you for 10K. That's how Hoyoverse sees your money. That sounds so reasonable. I mean, like truly, Hoyoverse is like Dawa even said in an interview, and it's public, or is it public or was it leaked? I don't remember. There's a video of him saying this. It sounded so wrong, but it's like he's so smart for understanding this. He's like, there's a huge untapped market into the pockets of otakus, of these lonely people that crave interactions, but they're socially inept, or they're not willing to reach out socially with other people, where in fact they seek out digital companionship, and we target these people. We sell them the product they've been yearning for, that they need. They don't even know they need us, and Dawei's like, I'm gonna show them that they need me. I am their waifu. Right? Sleep says, this is a Techie a Walrus stream all along. We all just an NPC. No, it's mostly because Techie does bring up interesting like opposing points, right? I like I keep saying, like I don't know how many times I need to say this, but I've always said to people, I encourage healthy discussions. I love having discussions. I'm okay with you disagreeing with me as long as you do it respectfully. I'm always up for a discussion. Look at my videos, right? I've proven that. A lot of people think like, Walrus, why don't you do more clickbait? Why don't you do more guide content? They get more views, right? But I was like, but I don't want to do guide content. Guide content is so dead in the water because there's no really room for discussion. Or you did some math wrong, right? At one point you had one decimal point wrong, or you fat finger a 0.7 instead of a 0.6, and now the math nerds are in the comments like, well, actually, if you use a derivative formula, you actually miscalculated number. Right? There's no discussion. It's like, it's so black and white. I don't like black and white stuff. Hey, it's a figure of speech. Relax. Right? My point is, I don't like things to be set in stone. I like things to be fluid. I like conversations that can go all over the place. A little messier, if that's if you guys catch my drift. Giga, I'm not gonna even try to say the second word. Giga says, guide content, one video every 2 months, forever new characters. Yeah, guide content creators also now leverage like their theory crafting, their thought process to become content, right? Just discussions as well. Like in the end, everybody's just trying to have discussions. I'm just taking a shortcut. Like screw the whole mathing it out part. I just want to talk about stuff. I could be right, I could be wrong. Like I said, like even the title of the stream is like just talking about some of the bad takes I've had, because I don't use math, because I don't like to sit down and crunch things out before I say it. I go by intuition most of the time, and I do actually, personally, I'm sure you guys know this, I do take a lot of pride in the fact that I played so many of these gacha games that my intuition alone oftentimes like steers me in the right direction, but I'm not always on the mark about it, right? Stuff like that. Techie says, like those who didn't get Dendro are suffering. Can be Nahida or Kale. They kept it wide, but well, that's the thing, right? The players are not happy when they are funneled into a certain playstyle. When it feels like, oh, if I didn't invest into this or I didn't do this, I'm being punished for it. All options should be left available at all times for all players if we're trying to be fair, but it's not like that. Hoyoverse has to push you in a certain direction, and that's what I'm saying. But what you're saying is, as long as you've spent enough resources investing into different groups of units, you would have had no problem clearing the abyss. But my argument is, you still would have a problem, because then you have to execute it right. You have to play the composition right. It's not about having the units, it's about understanding the composition. What does that mean? That means you have to study the composition. You have to understand the intricacies of their synergies, their downtimes, right? The artifact grinding. It takes months to grind up a 4 team of level 90 4-star characters. It's like people make it sound like, oh, I can get it done in 2 minutes. Oh, I need this character, and this character. Oh, I only have 1 of the 4 built. I'm gonna build the other 3 from level 1 right now. Level 90 character, weapon, talents, right? And understand the team mechanics and dynamics and how this stuff works. What the fuck? Like, how can we tell people that it's an okay thing? Like, and artifacts, right? Did I say artifacts? Yeah, an artifact. The worst part is the artifact. You can have the character, you can have the weapon, you can even have the talents ready. Like, just having it on. What about the artifacts? How well? Oh, you have a mismatched set of artifacts, and oh, suddenly, yeah, to play this character, you need a energy recharge, energy recharge sands in this weird wonky ass artifact like set that they've never played, and suddenly now you got to go grind that, right? It's just, we're not being really realistic with the advice. Like, I do feel like I stopped watching, like I found myself stopped watching guide content, also because while yes, they do take into account what's needed to achieve a certain result, they oftentimes don't take into account the player's process to get to that point, to even get the recommendations they have. Now, yes, it's not their problem, right? Like, guide content is supposed to guide you through the problem. It's like, if you search up for the solutions to a like a calculus derivative problem, right? You're stuck on a calculus question. It's not that person, the teacher's or the professor's responsibility to make sure you know basic addition, subtraction, right? Like, that's not the point of what they're teaching, which I understand. Guide people are providing a solution to a problem, and the problem is, how do I clear this abyss? It's not their problem to also help you to learn and to gather resource and to build up these characters. They should assume you have these already done, but the problem is, right, it's so damn expensive. Hoyoverse has made it so damn expensive and difficult to build up characters to a point where it's like, it's still just luck whether or not you have these characters built. You are not clearing this abyss if you have like only 2 of the 4 characters recommended built, right? You're just not. So it's just like I played so many games where I go in, I know this pain as well. I go in and they recommend something, I'm just like, I don't even have that character. God damn it. Like, it might even be like a very easily accessible character, like for example, all 4-star characters, but I just don't have some of those 4 stars. Like, I'm not pulling for every character every single patch, so like, how the hell am I supposed to know? And you know what this feeds back into? FOMO. it feeds back into FOMO. So it's like, I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna detach from that whole aspect of the game. If I found it much easier for myself that if I invested vertically into certain good 5-star characters, I had no problem. I don't need guides, I don't need help. I can brute force it. It doesn't even have to be C6. I have 0 C6 characters. Have a couple C1, C2s, right? Raiden, I think, is sitting at C3. I think the highest I have are C4 limited banner characters. I think some of my standard banner characters are now C5. But like, I don't even think the C4s matter. Most of the carries are like C1, even C0 nowadays with Dendro. It's just investing into the right characters, the right limited characters, has yielded much better result versus like chasing these fucking random ass 4-star teams that I don't want to build. Like, I don't care about any of these characters. I'm building them just to clear a piece of content that's gonna give me a couple hundred gems that these characters probably won't even work in the next cycle. It feels like borderline lunatic to me, right? Which is fucking like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why? Like, you're just doing it for the reward, and it's not even a reward, right? If you're, unless you really love this character and playstyle, but if you're just watching a guide and clearing the content, and watching that guide because you need to clear content for very minuscule rewards, doesn't it like just feel kind of weird or bad? Or I don't know. Maybe some people enjoy it. Not for me though. Like, you don't even get the satisfaction of figuring out a composition to clear it. You literally just copied someone's homework, right? And then you went to go clear the content, right? So then it's because to me that you only cleared it because you wanted the reward. You don't care about the process, right? At least that's how I see it. Anime Holic Top says, Walrus, I want to challenge your quantum team take. We feel like Bronya is needed in the team because of how underbuilt people's Sealies are. Give it 6 months of relic farming and Bronya won't be needed. So, right. This is another, like, if we're, like, since we are on Honkai right now, I do think Bronya and Sealy are like a match made in heaven, and I would actually argue that in the future, once the single target meta goes away and we move more into an AoE dominated space, I would argue that Bronya's usefulness is going to increase, because once Sealy is not able to one-shot things and just get to the next character, that extra damage buff plus the extra turn is going to allow her to move twice as much, essentially. Because remember, we're talking about in the scenario of an AoE meta, meaning more AoE characters. My god, more AoE characters and more and tankier bosses. Like, you might run into double bosses, right? Double bosses, maybe their collective HP pool is like little less. You can't have the same HP pool as now and also double them, because that's a huge difficulty ramp up, right? So we're saying, and of course your character's not going to survive that kind of onslaught, but it's just when you run, like, for example, what if there are 2 of these things that we're fighting right now? What if there's 2 of them? And Sealy is taking multiple turns to kill one, and you're saying, okay, so then you take away Bronya, so then Sealy essentially loses double, like 2 of her turns, not 2, like 1 of her additional turns that she's having right now, it's gone. And also resurgence only work once. You can't just resurgence kill, resurgence kill, resurgence kill, right? So it's just, with Bronya, you're essentially doubling the effectiveness of your resurgence, and you're doubling the effectiveness of her attack windows and opportunities, and you're, through these extra attacks, you're building up quicker ultimates. Losing Bronya, you're cutting down your energy regen by half, essentially, because half of the time you're moving is because of Bronya, right? You're cutting down the chances of proccing resurgence, like the number of resurgence by half. Everything is cut down by half. Her entire sequence is cut down by half. So what you would need to make up for that is you need to essentially double your current stats. And are you able to do that? Double your attack, right? Double your talent levels. You're not going to be able to do that. For most people, you're not. Like me, I know I'm not going to be able to do that, right? losing your Bronya, like it's gonna, unless there's another harmony character to make up for it, and it's not even enough to just give raw stats. Like I said, resurgence only works once unless you use your burst. You kill one with your skill, you resurgence. You kill one with your burst, and then you resurgence. You can do that, but then still Bronya gives you double the chance of doing that, and it regens your energy much quicker. So technically Bronya is not only a damage buff, she's also an energy regen buff, pseudo, because by giving you an extra turn, you're getting the chance to, god damn it, buff, you're getting a chance to boost your energy. Gotta go heal again. Probably I should be using Jing Yuan. What the hell am I doing with my Sealer team? I feel like Jing Yuan's gonna get clapped. Not Jing Yuan. When you absolutely must not take damage, this is the team you run. Oh my goodness, she is not going to survive. Is she? I'm scared. I think Ting Yun's gonna die. Look at her. A measly 1749 HP. So anime call it top. Yeah, that. So to answer your thing, like that, this is why I think it's very difficult to replace Bronya for this very reason. Like she does something in the game that the other characters currently don't offer, and it's a very good thing. Oh my god. And I have no skill points. Man, I hate this. I hate this so much. When you run out of skill points, it's like... And Ting Yun is just out here spamming it. Auto mode Ting Yun is a huge troll. Hey, there we go. Yeah. Jing Yuan makes it a lot easier. Please buff Jing Yuan. Okay, thank you. Ooh, 10 stacks Lightning Lord. Almost 30k. Okay. I'm currently farming for my healers, but it's alright. It's alright. It's alright. Healers and maybe getting a crit damage piece for my Bronya. Really want a crit damage Musketeer piece, and I don't want to level this up. But it's okay. I'm patient with it. I'm patient with it. I'm okay to wait. Omnipotent Bagel is asking, should I go for Kazuha C1? You see, I would say yes, even though Kazuha C1 isn't as like game changing, it just allows him to use his elemental skill again after his burst. So actually, you just have to be a little bit more mindful of your skill sequencing, and it does help a little bit. I think it's pretty cool. But the only reason I say it's not a bad idea to go for Kazuha C1 is because of the sheer amount of time you use this character. You know what I mean? Like, think about it like this. If you use him once every 3 Abyss cycles, I don't think investing into his constellations is ever going to be worth it. But if this man is in almost every one of your Abyss cycle teams, Like getting a C1 for him is just great value for you. Is like you're getting the benefit. You're benefiting from this every single Abyss cycle every time. And when you play him even outside of Abyss in events, I mean, who am I kidding? Using your well-built characters for events, what a joke! But regardless, like you can use it anywhere. And I think Kazuha is a popular enough character that it's worthwhile. But yes, I use a sack sword on Kazuha, and I just get to immediately use it again anyways. So yeah. E-Dog Visu says, as a newer player, rather just easier variety of characters. It's really a playstyle thing. I'm telling you guys right now. Like we can argue about this all day. I've argued with this with Techie, and we've come to the conclusion that really it's just a preference thing. It's like, is there a right or wrong way of doing things? Are you not gonna clear content just because you invested horizontally? Not really. Are you gonna not clear content because you invested in 2 characters vertically? Not really. The only difference is, do you care about who you use to clear content? This is what matters. Let's say if you're really bothered by the fact that your Eula can't clear the content as easily, or you're struggling so hard on her, then maybe getting a couple constellations on Eula, maybe getting some copies of her weapon is gonna make you have a better time. Then do it, right? And it's definitely gonna help. But if the fact that, let's say you're not gonna be, the fact that you're forced to build a bunch of different characters and you don't have them, and you feel frustrated that you can't clear the content, and you just wish you had an easy team to use to clear all this content with, then maybe investing horizontally is going to be better for you, because you never cared about who you use as long as you can clear it, right? And you have your waifus and husbandos and whatever, and you invest into them, right? And as long as they're still relevant, you're fine with it. Kazuha C1 is a good consolation, but I wouldn't say it's something that you should be actively seeking out. There are better C1s that are more impactful. I think you should only move on to Kazuha C1 once you have secured some of the other DPS, great DPS C1s or utility C1s in the game. There was also another video somebody wanted me to react. I think Animeholics wanted me to react to a Vars video about the problem with Star Rail combat. Haven't watched it.
Turn-based combat is...
Oh, okay. This guy's voice always catches me off guard. He's so soft-spoken that... And his videos start like immediately with no like pauses or stuff like that, and it always catches me off guard. One moment. We can watch it together. Should I react to it? Maybe not. Maybe not. Let's see what he has to say. So the title of the video is why Honkai Star Rail's combat needs major changes, right? So it's a constructive video. Let's see what Vars has to say about Honkai Star Rail's combat system and why does it need major changes. He's not saying it's like a slight problem. It's like a major issue, right?
It's a divisive genre in the video game industry. On a surface level, some find it tedious or repetitive, the only measure of skill or aptitude being whether or not you can press buttons. Comparatively, action or real-time combat is extolled for being more engaging and skill expressive. Even beyond personal preference, turn-based combat requires a great deal of thought put into its mechanics, both to ensure a well-made experience and to account for problems that may arise from such a controlled system. As is the case for any turn-based game, there really isn't much input required on the player's part. All you're doing is pressing a button every so often, that's about it. Some games make it more interesting by including action commands whereby successful inputs increase the power or effectiveness of the attack, an apt example being Paper Mario the Thousand-Year Door. Or they may opt for strategy-oriented turn-based combat to judge a player's capacity for planning and organization like the Fire Emblem franchise. But at a certain point, you can only do so much to differentiate one turn-based experience from another in the same title anyway. In contrast, a fighting game like Tekken can allow for literal thousands of hours of playtime without ever getting monotonous due to how high the skill ceiling is in that game. I've stressed many times in the past that Genshin's combat has a lot of untapped potential by virtue of being action-based with a cohesive battle system revolving around elemental reactions. If only Hoyo could actually bring that potential to full glory with more thought-out systems, but I digress. Honkai Star Rail is somewhat of the opposite, where the gameplay was thought out and explored more elaborately, but its nature as a turn-based game may ironically cause it to not survive as long as Genshin's.
Okay. The thing we also have to talk about Varus is like he's definitely picking at things that are, in my opinion, non-essential to Hoyoverse's success. Right? So yes, like for example, his point by saying Genshin has the potential to do better with its combat system and flesh it out more to make it even better than it currently is. But you see, we have to understand he's making the video for the sake of having a discussion on this topic, but it's not taking into account the fact that Hoyoverse most likely have the resource knowledge to do what he's saying, but they have no incentive to do it. And I mean, I guess that's pretty self-explanatory.
For today's Star Rail video, we're going to be discussing future problems that may come about from its combat system. Now, I don't think I need to remind anyone that the game is still young. It's only been out for just over a month. For all I know, everything in this video might be baseless conjecture proven wrong, which I actually hope is the case as I very much enjoyed the game. Having said that, I want to clear up that I'm not doing this for the sake of being a contrarian or doomsayer. Turn-based combat happens to be one of my favorite genres, and I find myself bearing witness to them diminishing in popularity because developers fail to take notice to how tenuous a player's enjoyment of the game can be if not handled correctly. The gist of Star Rail's combat goes as follows. Characters are divided into different classes, known as paths, and then further segmented into different elements. From the number of combinations possible between the two, it leaves a lot of opportunity for character design. You can have a lightning abundance, fire hunt, wind preservation, imaginary nihility, quantum destruction, so on and so forth. In actual combat, a player is given up to 3 actions per character: attack, skill, and ultimate. By dealing or taking damage, among other things, you charge energy, which is used to unlock your ultimate for a single cast. By attacking, you can also accumulate skill points, which are expended for, you guessed it, skills. Turn order is determined by every character's speed. The higher it is, the earlier you get to act per rotation, and in some cases, the more times you can act per rotation. Enemies carry a standard health bar and then a white meter above them known as their toughness. Any elements indicated above their head will deplete that meter in addition to their health. Once it reaches 0, the target will suffer a weakness break, taking additional damage followed by a debuff corresponding to the element that dealt the finishing blow, as well as delaying their turn order, usually to the bottom of that rotation. When timed correctly, weakness break can buy your team a few critical actions before the enemy can make a move. That might be just what you need to either burst them down or prepare more effectively for a counterattack. Another factor that influences your combat capabilities is your technique, an activatable skill that can be cast in the overworld prior to entering battle.
Oh God,
These are usually super...
I just gotta say, this is the longest intro I've ever... Because he hasn't really talked about the issue. He's introducing you guys to the systems, which we already know. But I'm not gonna skip because I don't want to go back and like... But goddamn, it's like 3 minutes of just intro.
Official buffs or debuffs, such as augmenting the party's attack or granting a small shield ahead of time. They can be helpful for more challenging fights. That about comprises the extent of combat in Star Rail. 2 actions, an ultimate, a technique, and a rudimentary mechanic based on type advantages and disadvantages. Curiously, there's no usage of items allowed during battle. You can only use them before or after combat. Needless to say, it's a very simple combat system. Too simple, which brings me to this video's title. See, when it comes to turn-based combat, in light of there being very few ways for players to express their own skill beyond the realm of decision-making, to avoid things becoming too repetitive, the most practical way to achieve this is by adding as many decisions a player can make as possible. And the way to do that without overcomplicating or overbloating things is by compartmentalizing the game's battle system into different facets, then constructing available actions around them, ideally as many as you can. For Star Rail, Hoyo aced the first half of the equation. They made 7 paths, each based on a specific facet of the game's combat. Destruction is your all-purpose attack and defense-oriented fighter, capable of dealing and withstanding blows in equal measure. Hunt is your single-target DPS path, characters best suited for fighting elite enemies or bosses. Erudition is your multi-target path, designed for fighting groups of enemies. Harmony and Nihility are for buffing and debuffing respectively. Preservation is on defense, shields, drawing aggro, standard tank fare, and finally Abundance is based on healing. They did a competent job distinguishing one path from another, and from the initial roster of units we have so far, they're adhering to the class designation very faithfully. For example, though Seela can perform well even against multiple enemies despite being a hunt path, she's in desperate need of harmony and preservation or abundance units to back her up. Provided they don't break their own rules, that allows for a wide variety of characters as stated before, and that's before we even count the elemental system and its own functions. Stunting the long-term sustainability of their gameplay, however, is the second half of the equation, constructing as many available actions the player can take as possible. You literally have only 3 things you can do per character, technically 2, as ultimates can't be used every single turn for every character no matter how much energy regeneration you have. The inability to use any other actions, even so much as using items, limits the number of options you can do on a single character. On its own, that wouldn't really be a bad thing if it were any other genre but turn-based combat. For an action
but you see, the thing is, 90% of us plays this game on full auto. 90% of us for 90% of the game is playing the game on full auto. I refuse to believe that anybody here is farming for their gold, their EXP books, and their relics to a certain degree. Like, hell, like even your weekly stuff, like I refuse to believe people are sitting there and clicking buttons through every single fight, which leads us to only having to pilot the game for ourselves in the memory of chaos. Right? We only play truly, we only are really using our brains to play this game in memory of chaos. You're fucking working out the turn orders. You're seeing like, okay, who's got first? Like your balance, like the hell. You're only farming your relics to make sure that in memory of chaos, everything is set out in the right turn order and stuff. Like people do enough damage, healers can survive like enough one hit, like everything. That's all you're working to. You're working towards that perfect scenario. Yes, the problem he's highlighting would only become a problem if autoplay was not. Like, I'll be honest, if autoplay didn't exist in the game, people would already be hella bored of the combat system, right? But the fact of the matter is, we're not bored because 90% of the time, you're literally just staring at the tits of your waifus or the abs of your husbandos. Like, come on, guys, come on. I don't even know what the hell they're doing. They're like twirling and spinning and there's some colors on the screen. I'm just staring at my waifu. That's all I'm doing. Yes, I'm a degenerate. Sue me, right? But that's the thing. We're not actually playing the game, so it doesn't burn us out as much as he's making it out to be. Sure, it might even get to the point eventually where even watching it on auto burns us out. Then maybe this becomes more of a problem. But right now, memory of chaos is still challenging enough to make us think and worry about what we do, what we don't do, how to use skills, what skill to use it on, who to give your turn to, like blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So I don't think it's gonna ever become that big. Like even in simulated universe, right? You guys are on full auto. Please tell me you guys are playing simulated universe. So like there are people who are farming simulated universe and done with the skill tree, and they just like no life that stuff. They play it on full auto, and I mute my game as well. On top of that, so my game is muted. I'm playing on full auto. I'm literally watching an anime on the side, right? And I'm playing another mobile game on my phone while I'm playing this game, right? It's just like I don't feel the how what do you the lack of options, as you said. Like I don't feel it yet.
RPGs such as Genshin, characters also only have an attack, skill, and ultimate. The key difference is that the scope of combat includes a lot of other things: positioning, timing, swapping between characters, real-time stuff native to action games. Technically, yes, the order in which you conduct actions in Star Rail greatly matters in optimal play, but without the real-time factor, you can take as long as you want to plan out moves in advance. It's not like chess where there's a timer preventing either player from overly delaying a match. In other words, the pressure of time, which is present in Genshin and what makes this combat so engaging, is not present in Star Rail. Also, given the fact that you can dodge attacks. Putting it bluntly, Star Rail's combat is too simple, too bare bones. On one hand, the simplistic nature makes it extremely digestible for any player, regardless of if they've been a gamer their entire life or if it's the first thing they've ever picked up. Being a mobile title also contributes to that thought process by taking into account mobile gamers not being as hardcore of a demographic and therefore appreciating unsophisticated gameplay. Be that as it may, a number of players have already brought to attention the likelihood of players growing tired of the game within a few months. Turn-based combat is already not everyone's cup of tea. The way it remains interesting though is if you make it dynamic with a lot of thought put into strategy and team building. But with almost no variety in actions each rotation, the vast majority of your combat experience in Star Rail goes as follows. Use your skill if you have skill points, if you don't, use your basic attack. Then use your ultimate whenever it's available or strategical. That's it. For most DPS characters, their skill is usually a basic attack that either deals more damage than their basic attack, attacks multiple enemies, or applies a status effect of some kind. Even for those who have skills that do something else, the range of use cases doesn't scope out very far. For example, Bronya's ability to shuttle any character to act immediately is advantageous for this kind of gameplay, but that's the only thing she does. Details can be nitpicked here and there, but broadly speaking, every character does one thing, creating two potential problems. First, by being a one-trick pony, it leaves almost no room for compromise in comparison. In other words,
but it makes Hoyoverse a lot of money when your little niche doesn't work anymore. Yes, oui.
Power creep is a heavy risk. Turn-based combat is a game all about numbers and stats. Everything can be calculated down with no variation besides crit chance. By that logic, the only real thing separating Seela from Yanqing or Jingyuan from Himeko is that the former two deal more damage per turn on average than the latter two, simple as that. You can't make the claim that one is more fun to use than the other because there are no mechanics involved. It's just pressing Q, E, and R. And also the second problem, you don't get a whole lot of nuance and strategy making the—
Bro, he's on full auto himself. Vars? He's on full auto himself. Again, I'm not calling him out or anything. I'm just like, bro, you're on full auto. What do you mean? Go take a shit. Go grab a drink.
Repeat playthroughs feel more tedious and monotonous in a game where you're expected to do things multiple times. Conveniently, we do have auto battle to make the gameplay itself for any busy work, but at that point we're not even playing the game. One of the ways developers try to artificially push the envelope on oversimplified combat is externally, as demonstrated by Simulated Universe. Through curios and blessings, they add a new layer of planning you have to take into consideration, given success and failure heavily depends on what blessings you choose. So not only do you have to think about what party members to use, but what blessings and curios as well. Any solution is better than no solution, but in practice, this is purely a band-aid solution to support a flawed system. Doesn't matter how many things you try to design around the limited scope of combat when that scope doesn't change whatsoever. If anything, it only makes them more noticeable. The need to choose the right blessings stems from the fact that you can only do so much with your characters, forcing you to inject them full of extra stats or numbers to overcome that difficulty rather than tactical planning and execution. There is a reason the turn-based RPGs that do well give players a wide selection of actions and complete freedom of actions. Calling back to Paper Mario for
but like, again, not to pick at stuff. What does he mean by does well? Because if you're talking about revenue and popularity, Honkai Star Rail is doing extremely well. I'm just saying. Probably better than most turn-based games franchise in history. Like, the Honkai Star Rail as a turn-based game is probably up there if we're talking about revenue, right? And revenue actually benefits these older titles more, does it not? They've been around much longer, right? G says, yeah, because it's new, but like, if we're talking about revenue, aren't these older titles supposed to have an advantage because they've been around for so long? Right? Or is it because of how Hoyoverse designed their combat system and their game in general has always been about maximizing profits while appealing to the largest possible audience? It's not really a coincidence a lot of people who's never played gacha games gave Genshin a try, right? Low barrier of entry, large community, because Hoyoverse has cultivated this space to be accessible by people of all gaming backgrounds, right? Yeah, and it's free, right? Nat saying, I mean, it's more easily accessible and free, exactly. But is it really free? Wait, but if it's free, how come it's like breaking records in sales and stuff like that? It's almost like if you build a game incentivizing whales and edging on low spenders to spend that extra dollar, it actually works out very well for you, right? It's because, let's be honest, the game that he's showing on screen right now, how many people would go and try it? Very few, okay? I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying it's the graphics, most likely, right? No husbando, no waifu. It's a cultural thing. Like, it's just nothing is as visually appealing. Sure, the in-game mechanics could be like the most wildest, crazy-ass combat mechanic, turn-based combat you've ever seen in your whole life. But you can't play a game just because it has great in-game mechanics, right? The best mechanics, like on a 16-bit game nowadays, is not gonna really get people to come back every day and log in and do your dailies and get anticipated for the new pixelated waifu that's coming in about 6 weeks time. It's just not gonna work. A lot of the times people don't give HorrorVerse enough credit for the amount of visual impact they put into their game, and also like it's not just the visual, it's like a whole package, right? The audio, the music, the OSTs, amazing. The looks of the character, how they move, right? How they talk, like getting the voice actors from CN, JP, and EN, putting efforts into globally syncing up everyone's pacing. Like the companies in the past just don't do it. They still don't do it now. There are still games that are releasing that's like, oh, CN has had this game for like 30 years. Or some shit like that. It's just like, and MMOs are still doing this. Korea's had like certain MMOs forever. They've had like some of the best MMORPGs right now currently available. Let's say, like, just use Black Desert Online. You guys probably don't even know what it is. It's like a very popular MMO, or Lost Ark, right? You guys know Lost Ark, right? People in Korea are like a year ahead of us or something like that. It's like, it's just like what they still don't get it. Like the things that Genshin does right makes it so people can overlook a lot of these air quote problems. In fact, I wouldn't even say this is a problem, because a lot of the casual players have never played whatever this is. They don't know what an immersive turn-based action game feels like, right? And they say ignorance is bliss. Since you don't know, then you won't feel it. But somebody like Vars, who he's said himself is an avid turn-based enjoyer, of course he's gonna feel this aspect of the game more. Like, and I would even argue that he's probably not gonna last as long, because like maybe Vars never played for the graphics. Maybe he comes from an era of gamers who plays for the mechanics over the visuals, right? That's just my point.
For a moment, what makes the game one of the best RPGs ever made is that Mario and his partners can do so many different things. So many different jump attacks, hammer attacks, star powers, items. Partners have a menu of 4 things to choose from, all with their own action commands. The player can choose how they want to play the game, and through creativity and extensive knowledge, you can pull off really fun stuff like taking down Bonetail, the second hardest boss in the game, before even completing Chapter 1. In Persona 5, you can use melee attacks, firearms, guard against attack, change tactics, choose from an assortment of personas, each with entirely unique effects, and of course use items. Yakuza 7, you can use tandem attacks, and once again, a variety of skills per character, not just one. It's near obligatory for turn-based combat to have that many options, otherwise the player plays through a cutscene mashing the A button until they either win or lose. Or you don't even have to press the button, auto battle will do it for you. Not only does this make the gameplay shallow, but one skill and ultimate isn't enough to clearly distinguish characters from one another. If another character who comes out can also turn advanced like Bronya, whichever character can contribute more to the team's overall rate of clearance will be infinitely better than the other, unless for some reason you care about the small bit of damage Bronya does with her occasional basic attack. Now, type matchups and class designations can mitigate potential power creep, but I feel like that only really applies to damage dealers. You're not using Bronya or Bailu for their elemental affinity since you're not really using them to deal damage. Bailu can be a fire element for all it matters. And to repeat, that only addresses half of the problem. It doesn't do anything to remedy the fact that you can only choose from 2 or 3 actions that don't really do that much. It would be one thing to set actions had a lot of different layers to them, but like I said, skills that deal damage are usually just more powerful versions of the character's basic attack. Even if power creep somehow doesn't happen, gameplay fatigue most definitely will, unless Hoyo decides to give everyone more actions. Honestly, even allowing the usage of items in combat would be nice. Any additional layer of options that can add more nuance in strategy. In a way, Star Rail's combat has...
Yes, and they'll do that for Zenless Zone Zero. Thank you so much, Vars, for the input.
The opposite problem that Genshin does. Genshin's combat has an excellent structure. The number of possibilities with its action-based combat stretches beyond what anyone can fathom, but it wasn't very well executed. There's no real distinction between elements and weapon types, meanwhile 99% of the game's combat is a DPS race. Star Rail's combat was more well thought out, elements carry more equity in combat thanks to weakness break, and path designations ensure that Hoyo won't accidentally release a Bennett or Shinto who's tank, support, and DPS all in one. But they've left no room for expression or possibility, increasing the risk of units cannibalizing each other and players getting bored of the game because the extent of strategy is what kind of elemental damage you need. That's it. Hoyoverse gravely underestimates just how important option select is for turn-based combat. I understand they were trying to replicate Genshin's experience from weapons to talents to attacks and everything, but the constraints for each game changes everything. Genshin's combat is sustainable because it lacks substance, which can easily be fixed. Star Rail's combat is too small in scope. They have to think bigger. Do they need to give every character 50 actions? No. But they sure as hell should give them more than one. The absence of micromechanics in turn-based games means that mastery over the game, which is a driving force of satisfaction for players, is entirely based on macro mechanics, the planning and strategizing part of the game, which there isn't much of in Star Rail at the current moment. It's only crude, bare minimum stuff like unit selection and equipment, whereas other games go as far as ability rotation, attack chaining, item usage, resource management, swapping party members in and out. The list goes on and on. And before you say party arrangement matters in Star Rail, it's incredibly superficial, only going as far as keeping your squishy members away from your tank. There is a possibility that Hoyo can expand on their systems, introduce new mechanics, or things like that, but from what we can empirically gather from Genshin, that doesn't seem to be the case, for now anyway. So the idea of, oh, just cause it's not in the game right now doesn't mean they won't add it later, has had no evidence proving it up until this point, which is why I'm making a big deal out of it now. In theory, the developers can implement more layers and dimensionality.
Oh, you see, this is what I was saying as well when I was worried about people trying to funnel all their resources into 4 different like limited quantum characters or something. I honestly I don't know about the Harmony quantum character, if it's a 4-star, 5-star, but like people truly thinks that Hoyoverse is gonna let you build one team and play it for an eternity. I know this is not relevant to the video, but like a lot of the stuff he mentioned doesn't exist yet. Which is similar to what I've been saying as well. Like a lot of these discussions, we can't just talk about the things that exist, right? Sometimes anticipating change is how we can stay ahead of the curve. If you're always just sitting and waiting for it, you're trying to react to the change, you're always going to be behind. So what I'm saying is like, I don't think it's a good idea right now to funnel so much into a single element. And what Varus is saying is that right now we need to be aware of the possibility for the game to become stagnant due to the limited options for combat, right? But is it a problem right now? Not really, but it will be, or it could come, and it'll come in different stages for different players, right? My point is, don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially for a turn game with so many different elements, so many different potential enemies to come. Hoyoverse hasn't even started to make life difficult for you guys. Like if you think Memory of Chaos is hard, that's only because your characters aren't level 80 with their talents maxed out. That's it, right? Once you get to that point, I'm sure you're going to be able to work your way through it. But the thing is, once Hoyoverse starts countering specific ways that you want to play the game and make people who pull for Seele and skip Jin Yuan's life a little harder, that's when you're going to be like, ah, crap. Think about it. Imagine a multi-wave meta with full of like designed for AoE carries, and it's countering quantum. God damn it. You're going to and then you're sitting there with 4 quantum characters on your team and a hunt character. Like you're gonna really feel it, right? And don't say it like, oh my god, Hoyoverse, you're evil. Like I hate this game, I hate this company. Come on now. Silverwolf, yeah, but Silverwolf can only apply 1 debuff, 1 weakness to 1 enemy. You have like 5 enemies that you have to chew through. Just because you killed 1, now what are you gonna do with your resurgence? Right? Your resurgence doesn't deal shield break anymore, and your entire thing, even if you use her ultimate, now you can't kill because you don't have the weakness on the enemy. You can only apply the weakness to 1. You see, immediately people are like, but Silverwolf will solve that. She won't. Silverwolf is a single target debuffer. In an AoE meta, Silverwolf's gonna start feeling it as well. Even if, let's say, okay, yeah, they make it like non-quantum weakness or whatever, like it'd be nice if everybody's weak to quantum, and I'm sure those unique scenarios will happen. Like, oh my god, thank you, they're weak to quantum. Now I'm gonna chew through them. I'm gonna destroy like these 5 different enemies. But the thing is, what if they're not? You have 5 enemies, tanky boys, right? We're talking like level 80, level 90 characters, enemies, and they're like 5 of them non-weak to quantum. What are you gonna do? And then double bosses, neither of which are weak to quantum. Right? It's just people think, oh my god, I'm gonna build this one team, and they're thinking in such a linear way, and they're so optimistic, thinking about how, oh yeah, I'm gonna navigate it like this. My team's gonna be unkillable with my like preservation. My Fu Xuan is gonna keep me alive. Like people, right? Leave some room for variance, right? Stay flexible. Don't just fall into the trap. HoYoverse is like laying it out for you. Why do you think they're releasing so many quantum characters? Why do you think Silverwolf came so early, right? Is it not all to steer you towards this direction? Like, just build a quantum team, and once your quantum team is built, like, they'll let you enjoy it for like a patch, and then slowly you're gonna feel like, oh wait a minute, my quantum team is not as good as it used to be. Well, you're gonna start lying to yourself, saying, well, you know, I've had so much fun, it's time to give other people a chance. Well, I can still do the content, I'm fine, I'm okay. And then slowly, so it's the same thing. People who were playing Morgana back in the day, it was like, oh my god, I'm gonna use Venti till the server closes. Good one. Good to be a dreamer.
Reality to Star Rail's combat, but historically, have they? No, they haven't. So until proven otherwise, I'm pretty confident that Star Rail's gameplay will be this, and only this, hereafter. To reiterate, I'm not implying their combat system is bad. I like it quite a lot and find it enjoyable. I'm merely stating that its lack of depth can come to bite it back in the future after the honeymoon phase novelty of the game wears off and players become more aware of the faults and shortcomings of the game. With no overworld exploration, 90% of the game's experience hinges on a combat system that lets you use only 2 action commands or the occasional third, and you do this over and over again since you can't do anything else. I'm trying to be optimistic about things, but unless they plan to add an expansion to where everyone unlocks a new skill at level 90 or more layers of combat are added, I'm very worried about the long-term enjoyability of Star Rail. Doesn't matter how many new characters they pump out, if the gameplay doesn't evolve past what it is now, I don't think Star Rail will retain its popularity. And this is coming from someone who really likes turn-based combat. I wanted to hold off on making my usual critical content on Star Rail since the game just came out, but I couldn't ignore this one. Never did I imagine I would criticize the game for doing too little. Usually the problem is that the game is too complex or too overloaded. On the bright side, it's easier to add new things than to take stuff away, so who knows, maybe Hoyle will manage to surprise us. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today. Let me know your thoughts on Star Rail's combat in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with my points. As always, if you enjoyed the video, it would be great if you could leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at VarsVerm.
Thanks, Vars. Good video as usual. Like, I mean, the quality of his videos are always so top notch. But you see, to end on his final note, he was saying like, once the honeymoon phase is over, people are not going to really enjoy the combat enough to stick around, right? However, here's a question I would like to pose to you guys in chat, actually. As a business owner, would you rather have a larger initial audience for your game, right? More people, more eyes, more players, and then slowly lose them over time? Or would you rather have a smaller group of players, more dedicated, more like hardcore and consistent players that you lose less of? Like, you're definitely going to lose players. Let's be honest. Over time, you're just going to bleed players no matter how perfect your game is. But would you rather start with like a larger pool of players and then lose them over time? Or would you rather start with a smaller pool of players and then lose less over time? Right? Like, as a company, you have to make this decision. However, trust me, what we're doing right now, like, imagine yourself as an executive. You're like, you have a suit on right now. You are like, your net worth is in the millions, multi-million-dollar person sitting right now. We're in a boardroom meeting, or we're on Zoom right now, and here's the question being proposed. Like, how should we approach this title, this new game we're making? Do you want to open it up to allow more players to gain access to this game, more players to play in the game, but for sure over time we're going to lose the majority of these players? Or do you want to just hunker down and focus on the niche group of people who will truly value what we're trying to do here? Which one do you guys want? I'd hire a therapist if I was rich. Larger pool. So more people are choosing one, and this is my take in this, is that when we are talking about a game, like especially a Hoyoverse title, they have learned that if you keep the doors wide open in the very beginning, more will flood in, which what ends up happening is like the more people you get into your game, the more impulsive spenders you're gonna get, right? The more whales you're probably likely to attract just because it's popular, all their friends are playing it, then they end up coming in just to see what's going on. And even if it's for 2-3 months and they have the means to buy Welkin, not Welkin, like the daily pass plus the battle pass, even if it's just for 2-3 months, and maybe they spend a little more to get the characters because their friends are talking about it, that's the environment you created a huge surge of initial income, right? Revenue, essentially, that even if they quit later, you did get something out of these people. Yes, there's a lot of free-to-plays who will come in, try the game for like a week or two and quit. I've had friends in real life who did that. Played the game for like 2 weeks and they quit. Didn't spend a cent, right? But just the fact that they were here is also allowing you to use them as data to extrapolate habits, right? Why did they quit? Is it because they got like it took too long for them to get a 5-star? Because they have all the metric. Think about it like this: there's many things Hoyoverse is doing behind the scenes that we don't take into account for. The amount of sheer data that has been gathered within the last like month or two, like plenty of people have quit the game, right? Plenty have quit, but the data they've provided will help Hoyoverse to increase retention in the long run. Don't ever just think this is about money. It's also about data. Data is money. Okay? The reason the system is designed like this is because they want to make sure even somebody who's never, ever touched, heard, know what a turn-based RPG game is, they could come in and within a couple minutes already be playing the game. They don't want people to sit here having to go through like a 2-hour tutorial on how to properly utilize every different feature in the game. Most people in real life don't have the patience for that kind of complexity. Okay? So I just want to reiterate, it's not Hoyoverse that, like, it's not that they couldn't make it more complex and cater towards, you know, these more hardcore turn-based players. It's the fact that they actively made a decision to go with option 1 to collect the data and to open the doors to more casual players, increasing, getting a larger pool of players. And hopefully Hoyoverse really have their fingers crossed that the Genshin trap is gonna work. It's to trap them in this space, to make it so you played this game for a year, you spent like a couple $100 and now you're too deep to quit, and make sure that new waifus feel enticing enough while not power creeping the previous waifus, will keep you around, stick like playing, and the full auto mode is just comfortable enough to make it be like, but I'm playing on full auto anyways, it's fine, I'm not spending much of my time. Like all these things combined, like in the future, how easy the game is only going to benefit Hoyoverse, because when you want to quit, how easy the game really is makes it so you can't quit, or you can't convince yourself to quit because it takes, like, it's so easy. I come in, I'm eating dinner, watching a TV show, and it's playing by itself. Like I'm not really doing much. Once you get to that point, you're like internally arguing with yourself, right? Then Hoyoverse has reached their end goal. Is that how easy the game is, while people also being trapped, like, right, you've done this as a habit for a year now. It's been ingrained into your system. Unless you find something else that's as entertaining, right, to replace this, it's gonna be very hard to break that habitual cycle. That's what Hoyoverse did with Genshin. How many people are playing Genshin right now because they want to play the game, and how many people are playing because it's just a habit thing? They go on for 10 minutes, do the commissions, log out. Why do you need to do the commissions, right? Oh, it's a habit, and also fear of missing out, right? Oh, Fontaine's right around the corner. The Hydro Archon's gonna be so good. I just need to get as many gems as I can so I can pull her. Oh, I can't stop. It's like they got you. That's how Hoyoverse gets people. And they're doing the exact same formula for Star Rail because it worked out so well for Genshin, and it's proven to work just as well. Hell, like if I had the money, I would do exactly what Hoyoverse is doing. I would just make a like bare bones game in a niche category and then just slap waifus on it. I just slap waifus and husbandos, anime theme, right? Write a very basic story that's like not too overly complex, and hire JP voice actors, do some publicity, right? And then I'll release it. All the characters are limited time. I will never include them into the standard pool of characters after I run them, so I can make more money off reruns. Like this is like Hoyoverse is giving you guys the formula to a multi-million-dollar business. If you have the means to invest into this idea and concept, you too can be a millionaire, even a billionaire in time. I'm telling you, like, it's really not hard if you have the money. The problem is we don't have the money. If you're still arguing against Hoyoverse system, then maybe it's not for you, right? This system. But I'm telling you, it's a blueprint to make money. It's free money if you have the money. if you have $100 million, you can probably be a billionaire too. E-Dog Visu says, I'm still in a new phase. I do dailies and burn stamina, but the story quests are just plain in Genshin. Yeah, but it's mainly because we don't care about a lot of the stories they're trying to tell us, the side stories or the casual stories, let's just say. Honestly, if I wanted to just like watch, like to partake in some slice of life content, I just go watch a slice of life anime. Why would I spend my time here doing quests in an anime game? Like, there's far better slice of life storytelling out there. Like, hell, there's better stories out there, period, even compared to Genshin's Archon. The only reason Genshin's story is appealing to some people is because they're comparing it to other in-game stories. Like, you're not gonna really say that Genshin's story is better than some like actual books, right? Like, or mangas. I'm sorry, chat, forgive me. Mangas, manhwas probably is more up our alley here for the discussion. Not saying you guys don't read books, but I'm just saying there are mangas that just have, like, light novels even, that have far better storytelling, much more engaging stories, right, than Genshin does. But Genshin's story is only good, or I say good, because people are comparing it to maybe even other anime RPG games, which is true. They put in much more effort to make the story good. Anime Holic Tops is saying what Genshin has going for it is that the lore is insanely deep. It's a full-blown iceberg. Yeah. So, but like, you have to really dig for it, and they sprinkle a lot of this stuff on the side, right? And most people gain access to this story through YouTube channels. People who have sifted through, or like, you see, here's the problem. We can indulge in the depth of its story, but we don't want to partake in the journey to obtain it for ourselves. You don't want to be in game finding a scroll somewhere in the middle of buttfuck nowhere and be like, oh my god, I never knew about this, my mind has been blown. Like, people but the effort to get to that point is not really worth the reveal. It feels much better if you're sitting here with a bowl of your favorite snacks, watching a 20-minute lore video about things you missed in Sumeru, right? Sanzu says just a small loan of $100 million. Sanzu, I'm just saying, if you know the right people and put together that kind of money, like, you're not gonna be the one pulling that out, but I'm just saying, if you know the right person who knows the right person who knows another right person, and each person pitches in like couple hundred thousand, if you get to a certain point, maybe you can take this like maybe you guys will have a couple million, and then you take a couple million and you invest into initial concept and design, maybe put a little bit of even like in-game engine design, and you can then pitch it to maybe some larger conglomerates and get the ball rolling. But the thing is, you need to know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. The good thing about Dawei is he actually made the game, right? He made the initial game that we saw last time. It was like Over the Moon or something. He was working on stuff like honestly, I don't think he'll put that shit on his resume nowadays, but like, he actually got hands on, and then eventually I'm sure he met a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. That's how things work in China. You know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows another guy that has the money. But like truly, Sanzu, like you'd have to agree, the formula is all there. Like it's been proven this for the second time. It's been proven, right? I don't know. Honestly, right now, a good direction to take is to go against HoYoverse. I don't think you can beat them, but going against them, you basically leverage the HoYoverse haters, right? You make a game for the HoYoverse haters. My God, you would make good money too. That was more of a Trump parody. Knew his dad, so yeah. So it's just like Trump knew a guy who had the money. He didn't need to know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, but he knew a guy. But yeah, imagine a dev studio right now that openly just gives HoYoverse the middle finger. Be like yes, we hate HoYoverse too. In fact, we used to imagine if during their initial press conference when they say, I used to be a Genshin Impact player, but I've noticed that the game had so much potential, like so much untapped potential, so I decided to do it myself, and that's why I created this title. And I swear, if that thing can get enough traction, he doesn't even need to find investors. People will crowdfund his game for him or her. Not saying sorry, bump into my mic there. Or her. Not saying women cannot start these franchises. They absolutely could. I'm saying you just have to go against Genshin. You need to like group every single person who has ever had anything negative to say about Genshin Impact. I swear to God, Tectone would jump onto your ship so damn fast and give you free publicity. He will like talk the living daylights, right? Same with Mtash. Mtash would jump on that boat too. It's like, oh my God, people, we need to fund this game. I don't know why I gave Mtash like some Mickey Mouse voice, but I'm just trying to differentiate. I'm not making fun of him. I'm just trying to differentiate my Tectone impersonation and my Mtash impersonation. Sanzu's back to work, lurking. Thank you, Sanzu. Always great having you lurking in the back. Isn't this like Temtem all over again? Traincore says, why doesn't Japan release a better anime game? They are the creators of anime, not Chinese. Traincore, thank you for bringing that up. I always don't want to bring this up myself because it makes me just feel like I'm the enemy of an entire nation. But here's the reason why Japan doesn't do it. Japan is too complacent. They are too comfortable with what they have. They are happy with what they're doing right now. Their IPs, their franchises, right? They're very, very comfortable over there. Like Nintendo is swimming in money. Sure, can they make more money? Of course they can. They can make, like, they can probably like make an extra 30-40% if they were just a little more accepting of Western ideals. Open it up a little bit, right? But no, they want to stay in their bubble. Essentially, they want to cater more to their local demographic. Trust me, there are more titles probably released exclusively in Japan than all the rest of the world combined in terms of like these random ass titles. There are some like games that are in Japan that the Japanese people are playing no lifing and these companies are making like millions a month as well. And if they opened it to the world, they probably could make more, but they don't bother. Like they're like, oh, look at that, we just made $3 million this month. We're chilling, people. We're good. I'm retiring next month. You know what I mean? It's just like they don't care. They don't think about the billions that That's like China is a country that was starved of opportunities. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? China as a nation was starved, literally starved. I mean, actually, literally starved, and of both food, essentials, and opportunity. So this generation of people in China, they're so hungry. They are so hungry. Both, okay, not literally anymore, but figuratively, they're very hungry. They are so desperate for wealth, for growth, right? For like, they are willing to do any. I'm telling you, they're willing to do anything. The competition in China is so damn fierce. It is so damn fierce. You know, like China right now, the university, like to be like a basic front desk receptionist, which is what I'm trying. A front desk receptionist are now required to have master's degrees. Unless you know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. But just think about it like that. It's gotten so fierce. That's why a Chinese company will take the best things from different regions. They'll take the best of the best. You see, China will have no problem hiring external talent. You see, a good example, voice actors. China knows Japanese voice actors are renowned around the world, right? There's a huge fan base for Japanese voice actors. Let me tell you guys something. Do you guys think that if Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact came out just in CN, that's it, that's the only dub you get, CN dub, how much would that affect their popularity? Just think about that. The fact that actually, even though name Genshin Impact, it's fucking Japanese. It ain't even Chinese. Yes, they do have the Chinese alternative for it, but when marketed towards Western audience, they chose to go with the Japanese title, Genshin, which is Japanese for the original god. Chinese, it's called Yuanshen, which translates to Japanese is Genshin. Right? I don't know where Impact came from. I think they just like, oh yeah, for the Western release, we need to add an extra word in there to kind of do something for it, right? Oh, Genshin Impact. Oh, great, amazing. Dawei is like off stroking himself in the freaking boardroom, and it's like, yeah, ship it. But understand, HoYoverse is a Chinese company, and they have the mindset that we don't give a damn. Like if we have to source somebody from like fucking Mars, Pluto to do our how much money are we gonna make? All they think about is profit. Okay, how am I gonna move the otakus, the weeaboos money from their wallet to my wallet? Honestly, I wouldn't even be fucking surprised if that's one of the questions Dawei asks during his job interviews when he hires people. Tell me, how do I move a weeb's money from their pocket to my pocket? And he hires people based on their answers. Because to be frank with you guys, that's pretty much all HoYoverse cares about. How do we optimize our game better to make more money? Is it wrong for a company to do that? Maybe. Maybe it's going to get them a little bit of hate if they actively come out and say it. But that's what HoYoverse does. That's what all these games, all their games prioritize. Open it up to a large group of people so we can have access to all their wallets. Even if they don't spend, we at least have a chance to convince them to. If people don't even give your product a chance, how are you ever going to convince them to spend? Right? So everything HoYoverse does is in service to getting you to open your wallet. Japan doesn't care, man. Really, Japan doesn't care. They make enough. You see, Japan as a nation knows when enough is enough. Japan had its glory days in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, right? Japan was at its peak. They, like, the current generation of Japanese people did not struggle. I mean, even the previous generation of Japanese people didn't really struggle. Like, my dad grew up with like 6 different siblings, and they all had to like fight for food, pretty much. They had to work for their food. They had food stamps in China. Do you guys know about this? So this is what my parents had to go through, right? So back in the day, they allocated food stamps for families depending on how many people you have, male, female, right? And that's it. That's all the food you get. That's all the food you get. Once you eat that food, it's gone. And meat was scarce, right? But you had like a stamp for how many pounds of rice you have per family, and you have to go exchange your stamps for food. And oftentimes, to the rich people were able to exchange maybe certain things, certain products for food stamps. People were trading commodities where it was illegal. You weren't allowed to do that. If you get caught, you can face prison time. But that's the era they grew up in, right? So tell me again, when Chinese people now in this era is so damn like bloodthirsty for making money, for staying wealthy, for overindulging in things, it comes from an entire generation of people who were starved of both opportunities and food, basic needs. My parents were saying like, because they're actually surprisingly, both of my parents were like younger siblings, so they were very thankful of their older siblings oftentimes in the family shouldering a lot of the burden, eating less to make sure the younger ones had a full belly. But even then, it wasn't always. So it's just like, it's a cultural thing. So this hunger to make money comes from that era, right? And Japan, their modern generation doesn't know that. Neither does the previous generation. So this hunger has long since disappeared. They had it. The people who built Japan post World War II had that drive. They had that spirit in them. They were willing to do anything. Like that's how like their automobile industry started to bloom. How how they started to advance technologically so fast post World War II. They were so hungry. Like this goes back to the saying like what was it called again? Hard times breed strong men. Strong men creates good times. Good times creates weak people, and weak people creates bad times. So you're saying that Japan is sated and China is ravenous. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the same thing for Southeast Asia. There's a lot of Southeast Asian people who are, like, a great example is there are people who are leaving China, Southeast Asian countries to come abroad, and they start businesses, like, and they will work from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. even. I've, like, even in my city right now, there's people who are saying, like, the Chinese, like, like there was, because I work in real estate, right? So there was there's this white dude who owns what's that? What's the word called again? Like an appraisal, like a home appraising company. And he's like, like when I used to work in the 80s and 90s, I didn't notice this, but like once the Chinese immigrants started coming over, I started losing a lot of business. And he said it like as a joking gesture, right? And he's fine. He's very well off. He's made good money. He's mostly retired now. But he was just joking with me. He's saying, he was saying like, but these like no offense to you, but these Chinese motherfuckers like came out of nowhere. They would open business 2 to 3 hours before me, and they would close business 2 to 3 hours after me, and they would take businesses after closing hours. So to the community, the people who were living here, they had no idea, like, what the fuck, like after 6 p.m. you don't call me for work anymore. Nobody does that. Like, that's so disrespectful, right? You don't call me after working hours. But these Chinese business owners were getting out of bed at 11 p.m. to go to customers' properties to check out like what's wrong, to fix their like pipes, like there's a pipe break for free. Like, who does that? Right? And he's like, he's lived all his life. He starts work at 9, he gets off at 4. That's it. After 4, he tells people, don't call me for work, don't call me for business. As if people's homes don't have problems after 4. Like he doesn't just appraise homes, he also does like maintenance and stuff like that, right? So it's just like, and his competitor, like who were like mostly mainland Chinese people who moved over, they were like doing home appraisals at like 9 p.m. So they would come in, check everything, give you the sheet, and they would go home. They would type up the freaking appraisal, which is like a 40-page document, and I will send them over. They'll send them over to you by like midnight or like 1 a.m. They'll have the whole thing filled out. This is your appraisal thing. It's like how do you compete with these kind of people? Right? The first generation immigrant grind set is something else. Yeah. Like how do you compete with that as a local like business that who's been like you've been living a life of 9 to 4 since you took over the family business, and if some Asian dude opens a business in your city who does just as good of a job, who takes 30% less pay, you see this? They're taking a huge pay cut for the work. Like the service they provide is the same quality. They have a wider range of hours of operation, and they take 30% less pay. How do you compete with that? You don't. Exactly. You don't. But that's the hunger I'm talking about. So like, why am I even sharing this with you? Is that I'm telling you guys, HoYoverse has the same grind set. Just because they're not overseas doesn't mean they don't have that grind set. They have it. And their priority is income, money. Same as the other businesses here. Nowadays, most of the contractors that I am aware of that are extreme, like, yes, there are still local contractors that are very popular, but they mostly deal with other local businesses. Like when it really comes to quality of service, the Asian, like the immigrant businesses, right? The foreign immigrant, first immigrant businesses aren't necessarily lacking in quality. They're very fast to pick up. They pick up after hours, right? Because when I have a client who calls me at 9 p.m. to get something dealt with, I have to call somebody. I have to try to help them. So of course I'm going to go to the person who I know is still probably going to do something about it. Mexicans too. Yeah, it's the people who have suffered, basically. You have to know what it's like to suffer for you to even want to put in this kind of effort for your work. So I know this is a very, 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 very roundabout way to answer the question, but why doesn't Japan like release their titles? Or I don't even remember the original. Like, why doesn't Japan care about the global audience? It's because they haven't suffered to know what it feels. Obviously, what they're doing, like what China are doing, the examples I'm going to these people, they're doing it excessively. Why are they doing it excessively? Because they fear a time would come again where they don't have it. And this also is highlighted. Remember when COVID first hit? I don't know if I can even say that word right now, but when it first hit, right? People were hoarding tissue papers, right? And basic like survival needs. How many of you guys saw Asian people hoarding that? I'm telling you guys, every Asian household I knew was hoarding that shit. Like every one of them. They're like, not us. I'm not about to go back to 1960s. Hell no. Like fuck that shit. I'm stocking up. No way. Like I'll be good for the next 5 years. Thank you very much. Like that's what my parents were doing. They're like, no. I like, hey, I'm not taking a risk. I'm not going back to living that life. It's just like it was crazy. It was crazy. But it's a fear. Okay, it's a fear response. They were not doing it because they want to screw other people over. They were doing it because like they were literally having PTSD about their childhood when they didn't have enough toilet paper, they didn't have enough food, they didn't have enough get this. My mom told me this. To get water for their house, they had to, like, the eldest in the family had to carry this like wooden stick thing with like ropes on the end with 2 buckets, and he would have to walk like miles to the river, pick up the water, and then walk miles back. And he had to make multiple trips to make sure they filled up the huge jug they had at home. And then they would boil that water for shower. Like, it's crazy. Like, what the fuck kind of life they lived back in the day. It's like it shows, right? It shows. And of course the communities were saying, stop hoarding, like, don't do that, you're making it so hard for the rest of, like, this not enough supply for everybody if you just hoard like years worth of toilet paper, like, on end. Like, but you're telling these people stop doing it, right? Like, oh, like, for the other people, but it was every man for themselves. Like, this is a fight or flight response. I know it sounds hilarious. Like, hoarding a year's worth of toilet paper is a fight or flight response, but it is for some of these people. Like, they were not about, like, think about it, they bust their ass day in day out, they work 12 hours for like 30 years straight. Do you think if you did that, would you want to live in poverty? Like, you did that so you made sure you never had to experience that, let alone your children, your offsprings would ever experience the horrors of what you went through. Like, imagine working like a dog for 30 years just to have to live that life. No, they were not about to do that. So that's why they hoarded it. They were hoarding it not only for themselves, they were hoarding it for their kids, right? Offspring. Like, you know, like, the Asian community was out there on the streets handing out toilet paper to their neighbors. Like, you guys think I'm joking? They were out there like, oh yeah, like, I went to Costco, I got like 50 rolls of, like, 50 packs of toilet paper. Here, take 2. Here, take 2. All right, guys, stay home. Don't go out. Mask up. All right, here's some hand sanitizer. All right, I'll see you guys next year. No Chinese New Year celebration this year. We'll do it on Zoom. Ha, 恭喜发财, 恭喜发财. Okay, back off. Like, it's, they do take very good care of their communities, offsprings, and whatnot. The Asian community is very tight in that regards. I'm talking about the wealthy ones, okay? I'm not talking about the ones who are struggling, but the wealthy ones, at least in the community my parents were living in, it's like, wow, like, holy crap, their neighbors were like, you know, handing out toilet paper. Yeah, they have to look out for elderlies too. Exactly. It's usually they're hoarding not just for themselves, they're hoarding for the whole family, right? That's the hunger, right? That's the hunger I'm talking about. Japan doesn't have it. They absolutely don't have it. Japan has gotten so comfortable in their position, and they're like, as a nation, they're still doing fine. Right? Like, economically, they're still doing all right. They're not what they used to be, but they're okay. The youth are not very happy though in Japan. I can tell you guys that much. The youth in Japan are not doing too hot when it comes to all these traditionalistic views and whatnot. But what can you do? The country is ran by the elderly, basically. Rodat says, yes, time to delve into a discussion I just joined to. We're actually at the end of one of the most heated discussions I've had. Japan's economy is terrible. I know it's terrible, but the thing is, like, the middle class is surviving. The lower class is, like, surviving, right? You know it's not good when I say they're just surviving, but it's like, who's really doing well? Like, what country really has a thriving economy? Most of them don't, right? But, like, Japan is stable until their elderly starts to die off, and they're off. Like, even then, I'm sure they'll overcome, because now we're getting into some very because I believe AI is gonna solve a lot of Japan's problem. They're saying like, oh, we're not gonna have enough people to work these positions. Well, then replace them. The technology is starting to mature. Well, not mature. The technology is here. You can develop it, right? Do you like nowadays Japan has a lot of establishments that have nobody to monitor them. Like, there's nobody, like the hotels. Like, I know in China for sure, there are hotels that you can check into that has nobody. Nobody works at the hotel. It's just like you get everything you do is between you and robots, machines. They even have like robots to deliver food to your rooms. Rodats, is AI about to make some populations unemployed? Yeah, the non-union occupations, but the unions would never allow that. Like, so a lot of unions in like all across the world will fight for the rights of employees to not be let go, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on these companies. Sure, you can just be like, you know what, I'm still going to fire you guys, I'm going to dissolve you, like, but then it's going to end up potentially in a huge lawsuit, right? So like companies are kind of stuck. If you're a big enough company that your employees have a union, then you might find it very difficult to replace them all with AI. But yes, there will be future companies that are established solely off of AI. So as a startup, if you start up with AI, that would be pretty cool, actually. Someone has to maintenance the robots, right? Yeah, but then you can have like, that's a new industry, right? Maintenance for these AI workers. Like they'll come in and they'll service the robots every like year or something like that. They'll be serviced every year, and while these robots are serviced, they'll put out other robots to work. It doesn't stop the workflow. But like, yeah, that's a whole new industry. It's kind of like you I don't know about you guys, but don't you guys have to, if you guys live on a house, you have to do landscaping, right? You got to cut your grass, you got to like trim your hedges. Like, even if you live in an apartment, who maintains the garden? Who maintains the right? There's maintenance that needs to be done. It's the same thing. It's like a janitor, for example, has to go through the building and sweep and clean and right. It's just general maintenance. Eventually, in the future, robots are just going to be part of general maintenance. Train Course says, I'm 32 and don't even have a job, Rib. Hey, don't worry, you're here with the Walrus. You don't need a job. you don't need a job. Start a YouTube channel. Here's another thing. All right, here's another thing. I solemnly believe that in the future, everyone's gonna have their own channels. Everyone's gonna have their own channel. Oh my god, is that a monster over there? I think everybody should have their own YouTube channel, even if you're not active, even if you're not using it to make money. You should have your own YouTube channel and focus on your own interests on the channel. Rich countries are always going to be fine. The problems are different and hits the people in a completely different way. I live in BR. Is that Brazil? Hearing Japan's econ is terrible sounds kind of nonsense. Yeah, it's perspective, right? It's terrible compared to what they're used to, is what people mean. So if you think this is terrible, they usually live really, really like much better. Every Walrus stream will always end up in a social discussion. That's right, because all the problems we talk about eventually leads to social discussions. People saying like, because every single decision Hoyoverse makes are influenced by their social political situation. So understanding this, in my opinion, understanding these issues and having these discussions will actually, sure, it's not going to do anything to optimize your Jing Yuan's DPS, but to understand why and how and in what direction Hoyoverse is going to be steering the game towards could be, like, you can find the potential answers in these discussions. Like, we were talking about why Hoyoverse is so successful and their active decision to choose to, like, for example, the music, the orchestras, right? Hoyoverse had no problem broadcasting to us that they were hiring foreign orchestras to perform, pieces of music, and that actually bodes well for them. It shows that they're a very inclusive. Imagine if you just forced the Chinese orchestra, like, sure, we'll probably still enjoy it and be like, oh wow, that's very well done. But HoYoVerse, the directors and like Dawei probably understands that like a Chinese orchestra is never going to be able to perform to the level of like a local orchestra. Like if they wanted to do Sumeru, if they wanted to do Inazuma well, they needed like Japanese people who have devoted decades of their time into these musical to mastering these musical instruments, and the finesse that they're able to deliver within the piece is going to elevate it to a whole new level as if you just did it locally. HoYoVerse had no problems outsourcing a lot of this stuff, and China as a whole is outsourcing a lot of their work and project, and they have no problem utilizing tech and influence. The whole meme about like made in China is literally China sees a good product, they'll copy it, they'll absorb it, they'll value why is this good, why is this good, they'll make their own version of it, and then they'll sell it to locals, they'll like develop on it. It's just, that's, as a nation, they've fallen so behind that the only realistic way they can even play catch up is to copy and to learn. It's like when a new YouTuber usually comes onto the space, the first thing they do is to copy, right? They copy their favorite YouTuber's style, and they're like, oh my god, let's try this, let's try that, or they copy a style that they really enjoy. It doesn't have to be like their favorite YouTuber, but a style maybe they've seen on TV or they know of, or something like that. Imitation is always the first step to innovation. I don't know if that's a quote. That might be a quote, but I think imitation is the first step to mastery, right? So that's what China is doing. And right now China is basically like, China has hijacked Japanese anime art design. China also has their own anime art style. I'll show you guys one moment. China has an anime art style, which I think it's still pretty good. It's just like, you can tell it looks a little bit different from Japan. Like, it's not as polished. You see, they have their own aesthetics when it comes to how they draw anime characters, right? It's not as good, in my opinion. I think it feels too simple. I don't know. Something about it feels off, but like a lot of this inspiration, it comes from Japan, right? They basically copy Japan and then they put a little bit of their own twist onto it. Chinese anime is not bad, but if you understood Chinese, you know, like, it has a ways to go. The dialogue, the writing could use a bit of work, but you know, the general stories have been pretty good. Honestly, they've been pretty good. There are some really good stories that are told. A lot of them are also very generic, but it's a good time. That's all I care about. Am I having a good time? I am. Cool. What is that guy doing to him? Hey, go read the story and you'll find out. Oh, yo, wee. But you see, this doesn't look like Chinese. Like, if you were to do a first glance at this game, you wouldn't think it was Chinese. This is basically a full-on Japanese anime aesthetics, right? Oh, Luga-chan, why don't you come and say hi? We're talking about China stealing ideas from other countries and cultures to empower and embellish their own. What do you think about that? Here, you can talk into the mic. We're talking about the success of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. The success of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail comes from a lot of the fact that, like, this Chinese company, MiHoYo, right, or HoYoVerse, takes a lot of inspiration from other countries. And the success, like for example, the aesthetics and the voice acting of Japan is implemented to further push these titles because it's aesthetically just better, and people abroad are recognize this kind of artwork and the voice actors. Imagine if Genshin Impact we're saying came out with only Chinese voices. And imagine if the art style looked like this. This is a Chinese anime art style.
Okay.
Imagine if yes, it looked like these Chinese. Nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying they could have done this. Why didn't they do this? Imagine the theme that
They already have a lot of.
Yeah, they have a lot of these, and none of them have succeeded globally. Why is that?
They're close.
Because it's too focused on Chinese, like, aesthetics, right? Sure, like this very handsome dude. But if we're talking about like Taoism, like people floating in the skies and stuff like that, not that like people don't like it, but I think Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact took a lot of Western influence when it comes, like for example, this country, does it look like Chinese architecture?
Looks like France.
Yeah, it looks like friendly, like a European architecture, right? What are you doing? You're gonna attract Timothy's offsprings to this room.
Lift her up.
Lift her up? Why do you want me to bully her? Oh, well, you want me to? All right, it's Jabba time. Jabba, come. Jabba, come here. Okay. You dropped it. You dropped her apple.
No.
Oh, where's the one you dropped?
Find it.
Oh no. You gotta wash it. It has fur on it. Nasty. Oh, Jabba. Oh, Jabba. Oh, Jabba. Mommy was trying to feed you apple that has fallen to the floor in front of hundreds of people. Very good. Ooh. 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 Okay. Jabba. Jabba, why you only look at the food? Oh, Jabba. Very nice. Oh, you dropped it. Ah!
Last one.
Very good. Okay, you're free to go. Go play. Go play. Time to put this new emote icon thing to use. Anyways, that's one big cat. Yup. Biggest cat I've ever seen. I think we might have broken a world record. Okay, so a general account update, and we might end the stream with some summons because I've decided I'm not gonna chase. I'm no longer gonna chase for like variety in Honkai Star Rail. I don't know. I might just use up all my gems for her. If I get her, I get her. If I don't get her, I don't get her. Right? I'm okay with that. I think I've come to terms with it. But the difference here is this week I have leveled up Tingyun. I haven't worked on a lot of their light cones, so like I'm starting to run really low on level books, so you guys can see. My EXP mats are looking like 79, but I have a lot of refined ether, but I don't have enough. Oh, wrong one. I have a lot of credits. I have 4 million credits. Surprisingly, I think being a streamer, actually being a content creator for this game is not fair, in the sense that I get a lot of my credits through support rewards. I think at this point I'm like 100. I got 100 extra 100 to 200,000 credit. Like, sure, it's not like a big thing, but over the span of time I'm going to be getting like millions more credits compared to other people over like a longer span of period of time, of course. So that has helped a bit. The battle pass definitely helps. Right now definitely is character EXP. I don't have enough. They're all at 69, not because I'm a memer, but I didn't have enough to get them all to 70. But once I have enough, I'm going to push them all to 70, and then I probably need to prepare Ciele and Jing Yuan for 80, which I heard it costs 100 something books, which is absolutely crazy. This week I haven't gained much new stuff. I think maybe relics. I think I got new relics. Nope, I have not. But yeah, I'm thinking of doing some more relic runs for. I really want a crit damage body for her. For Tingyun, I want a better headpiece. I think this headpiece I probably will give it to her, but the thing is I'm hesitant to level it up. You see, this one is pretty good for Bronya. I might level it up. This one, and then glove for Tingyun. I'm gonna find it very difficult to replace this. I might give this glove to Bronya and this one to Tingyun, because this one has the crit damage already leveled up with a bit of attack and speed, which is good. And this glove also has attack percentage, right? So you guys see, has attack percentage for Tingyun to use. I might switch. In fact, I might just switch it right now before I forget about it. Here's another one, not that good. Might do a couple more. I want to farm an attack piece, I believe, for Tingyun over here. Speed on the boot, attack on the body, and then yeah, headpiece. Maybe I'll give her this one for now. Tingyun is mad fast. My Tingyun is 137. Probably gonna push her to 140 plus, maybe 145 even. Once she's fully built. So Tingyun's gonna be zooming. So for that very reason, I'm also farming for Bailu. If you guys know, you know. My Bailu is currently using this set, right? Speed, very nice, attack, and HP. So any pieces to maybe replace this one, maybe some effective resistance, maybe flat like HP percentage would be really nice. Let's see. No, that's not what we're looking for. So yeah, people, a lot. Actually, this domain is gonna yield me relatively good results. So because I'm not gonna be leveling up these characters any further, having them having their relics built is going to be important for me. Shoak Tai-san? Nani? Go! My god, Jing Yuan, you monster. Stop boosting Bronya! Please! I'm not gonna even have enough skill points. Oh, thank god. Thank god I have enough. No, Bronya, what a waste. Thank goodness they haven't hit my Tingyun very much. Ishindoki, yes. Wow, 3 skill points just like that. And ult. Yes. Gotta say, I think why didn't he use his skill? Why didn't he use his skill? Come on! Oh my god! Daddy, please, Dawei, please! Daddy, Dawei, please! Crit damage. Dawei. Dawei. Come on. Okay, let's look at this one. Let's look at this one first. I'll take a crit damage for this one too, honestly, but come on. It's okay. Maybe the boots we'll check out too. The gloves, attack, HP percentage, crit damage. Okay. Daddy, please. Dawei, I've been a good walrus. I've said nothing but good things about your game. I farmed enough social credit to deserve a crit damage. Not even in the substats. What a slap in the face. That's just her saying no you didn't. Yeah, I need to farm more social credit. Uchikuguse. Oh my god, yes! Oh! Slap them cheeks! Ah! 52,000! I know Seele by herself can do that much, but man, my Jingren isn't even fully built. Like I'm still working on his talents and stuff, bro. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Relax. Relax. Ooh, Qingyuan, you better use your skill. You have the skill point. Nice. Low stacks. It's alright. It's all good. Oh my god. Yes. Qingyuan ult! Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. Damn it. Nice. Okay, okay, let's see it. Ah, boots. Come on now. Huh. Might not be bad, but we'll have to see. HP, but no, she needs speed or else she won't move fast enough to even... Oh, man. Well, it is what it is. I knew it was going to be a painful process. But how many fuels do I have is the question. Ooh, 46. That seems like a couple too many, don't you guys think? Chat? What do you guys think? I think maybe we're like 2 to 3 fuels a little too high on our cap here. Hmm. Ah, yes, totally. Yeah. We're overcapping on our fuel, chat. It is not good to have too many of those for sure. Like, not like we're waiting to get to level 60 or something like that. Felt like it should be a 42. That's what I thought too. Rodas says I have 0 fuel. Oh my god. Oh. Oh my god, and the ult? Clap them cheeks, Jingyuan. Juicy. No, stop doing that. No. They should make Jingyuan's auto attacks boost the Lightning Lord by like 1 stack or something like that. Like, give it something, man. Okay, buddy. You don't need to moan like that. My god. No, my ult. Oh, now he's gonna ult. God damn it. Come on. No. Oh, is there crit damage? No. Why so many defense? Oh my god. But why is it purple? No. What are these stats? What are these stats? Look at these boots. Should I give this to my... Oh my god. We gotta run it back. Come on. One more time. No. No. Oh my god. What was that sound? What was that? Yo, you can never play this game on like speakers. Like Branya has a more battle hardened like moan or whatever you call it. Ting Yun, my god, that she probably has a fetish going on or something. Oh my god, lady, please. I'm trying to keep this PG. I don't have enough skill points. I do gotta say though, Ting Yun slaps really hard. Like, I don't ever expect her to do that much damage, but like when she slaps him, it actually slaps him pretty good. Anyways, Come on, man. Okay, actually, I think we did get an upgrade with this piece. This is a good piece. All right, one more time, chat. Come on, come on. We can't end it like that. Oh my god, you guys don't know what's about to come for you guys. Oh, you guys have no idea what's coming. Come on. Ooh. That's always so satisfying. My god. Stop it! Stop doing that, Tingyun. This is so sad. Jingyuan, why? Why do you use your normal attack? I don't get it. I don't get it. He had the skill point. Jingyuan, just slap him, man. Why you gotta be burning my skill points like that? Oh my god, please. Please. This would be a great way to end. Would it not? Out of Trailblaze power. End of the stream. Crit damage. Ah! You know, 44 is not a good number. All right, it's not a good number. By Chinese feng shui, it's not a good number. I don't feel comfortable sitting on 44 here. We're gonna use one more to make sure we're not, you know, on the bad number. I know there's people in chat who's literally just like cringing. You know what? I'm gonna play this one myself. God damn it. I'm Tingyun, stop. You will terrorize my skill points no longer. Oh my god, why is it targeting Bronya? It's trying to embarrass me. Farm some good skill points. I forgot to use Bronya's ult. I'm a dumbass. I probably should not have done that. I think I'm embarrassing myself plenty without the system trying to trip me up. 10 stacks! Oh my god.
代価を
泣いてよここへ。
一気に片付けましょう。
That's a 5 stack.
我に力を。
私
我々は塔に嵐に踏み入った守るべき者のために打ち崩せ。
気を逃して陛下に慈悲なし。
Oh, take that. Come on. No, if this gives me crit damage. Fuck you, game. I hate this game. All right. To end it, we will use the rest of our gems for Silverwolf. I'm investing into her. Oh, don't mind if I do. Okay, no problem. Pass key. All right, chat, put your hands together. We are guaranteed the next 5 star. So if we get a 5 star, it is Silverwolf. We are 35 polls in, actually. Right? We're 35 polls in. Wow, we're gonna get close. We'll do 20 polls. We'll go to 55. We'll go to 55. That's all we'll do. Nope, didn't get it. What the hell? I think I have every single one except Dance Dance Dance. This is the last one. We're at 45, so this is 55. This is it. Okay, we didn't get it. That's fine. That's fine. We have one more temple, but I don't think we're gonna go to 65. I'm waiting to get a Dance 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 for her. How long until the banner rolls over? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So Tuesday. 2 weeks from now, Tuesday. The 28th? Oh, okay. I'll be going for Dance Dance Dance.
Huh?
Another very eventful farming session. We are at Trailblaze 52. We're on our way to 60. Probably we'll get to 60 in about 3-4 weeks, like 3 weeks to a month, I would say, right? I mean, if we'll see. We'll see. Boris, have you read about Fu Xuan's kit? You said you were gonna read it this stream. Ah, Fu Xuan. Yes, yes, yes. Let's take a look at Fu Xuan. It's still considered leaks, is it not? Or was she in the beta? Like the beta test. I'll be honest, I've heard people saying Fu Xuan's not gonna be that good. Cause I heard people saying she's not good enough to be. She's not good enough to be a standalone tank. Basically, she's not gonna keep your team alive, is what people were saying. I don't even know where to find her, to be honest. Does anybody have a link? You can DM me in Discord. I like, honestly, I don't know where to find these leaks. I don't know what website you guys even use to have like concrete leaks. Oh wait, never mind. I found it. I just typed Fushuan leaks and I found it. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right. Warning for people who don't want to look at Fushuan leaks. This is your chance. Boom. Maybe I should give you guys a couple more seconds to vacate. All right. Let's look at Fushuan. The Preservation Quantum. Translated version. Nice. What is a poor view formation? Oh, that's... Oh, that's what they were trying to translate. I was like, what the hell is a poor view formation? It's the name of her skill. Okay, it's literal translation. Cool. When all party members are alive, the damage received by all allies will be reduced by a certain percentage. Max for allies. Percentage of all damage taken by party members other than Fushuan will be mitigated by Fushuan. This effect lasts for 3 turns. So that means she must heal herself, right? Like, she must heal herself, right? When Fushuan takes damage, while this skill is effective, she will gain 1 stack of Each stack of increases Fushuan's max HP by a percentage lasting for 2 turns. Okay. So does she heal by once the max HP is gone? Does it just put her HP back to normal? And she kind of like heals from that? Is that how it works? Deals quantum damage. Okay. To all enemies, deals additional quantum damage to percentage of Fushuan's max HP. Reason the number of times Fushuan's talent has been triggered. Oh. When Fushuan is able to fight, she grants the effect to all party members. This effect reduces all damage received by... Okay. Fushuan will also gain a damage bonus based on the amount of HP she has lost. For every percent of her max HP lost, Fushuan's own damage increases by blah blah blah. My god, it's Zhao. No, it's not Zhao. It's Hu Tao. This effect bonus will not exceed a certain percentage. Additionally, when Fushuan's current HP is less or than equal to percentage of her max health, she will regain HP by swapping the percentage of her max. You see, this is how she keeps herself alive. Fushuan's current is less or equal to a certain percentage of her max HP. She will regain HP by swapping the percentage of her max HP loss with the percentage of her current HP. This effect can only be triggered once per battle or per turn. After Fushuan uses her technique, all party members are granted a shield which blocks. Yeah. And the party will not, and the party will not enter battle for. At the beginning of the next battle, all party members will gain increased damage. I don't know. Like, she could be good. Like, I don't know. I don't know if she's gonna survive. Per battle. Oh wow. So she can only heal herself once per battle. I don't know. Oh, her ult resets her talent. I see. Oh yeah, I do remember. Deals additional content. Oh yeah. Reset the number of times Fushuan's talent has been triggered. There it is. I see. So alt resets talent, which okay, that now the character might survive. The thing is, once your team gets hit as her skill is active, she gets stacks and she gains max HP stack based on the number of stacks, right? And a lot of her kit also is scaling off of HP lost. So like her, if you want her to do more damage, let's say you want her to be on a lower HP. For every percent of max HP lost, Fushuan's own damage increases by a certain percentage, right? What's this? Oh my god, is this mangoes? Thank you very much. Mango season. I think she could be good if like it's all up to the percentages. You know what I mean? If these percentages are good, I think she could keep your whole team alive. The thing is, when all party members are alive, the damage received all lives will be reduced by a certain percentage, but they still take damage and they have no way of healing it back. She can heal herself, but your team can't heal themselves, right? So a percentage of all damage taken by party members other than Fu Xuan will be mitigated by Fu Xuan. So the thing is, your team still takes damage. I think this is a design issue in my opinion. Like, I mean, if your characters are well built enough that you can beat the content before they die, then fine. So like, but what's the appeal here, right? What's the appeal? Why would you pull Fu Xuan over if you have a Jeopard? Just to get the quantum element? Is that a good enough reason? Or waifu? If you need to pair a healer with her, then this character has failed. Z-Type says, okay, well, just want to ask, I already have Branya, and Blade is the next unit that I really want. Is it better to go for Silverwolf or Locha to pair with Blade? Locha. Locha for sure. Locha can heal him passively, basically. Don't even need to use a skill to heal. It's like auto heal. And Blade will like use up his health. Locha has great synergy with Blade. The Sessa says, Walrus, Tunyun, and other harmony characters can get one shot. Well, the thing is, if you're telling me characters like Tinyun, even at level 80, with level 80 light cone, with their relics leveled up to plus 15, like for inside, outside, everything, and she's still getting one shot, then maybe in those scenarios, a character like Fu Xuan could be pivotal, right? But I'd rather just reset the run, right? Unless it's like an undodgeable attack and Tingyun just dies from it. But I think if you build up your Tingyun, and also characters like Jeopard can prevent them from getting one shot as well. It's not like Fu Xuan is the only available unit. Again, we don't know how hard future enemies are going to hit as well, right? Bethesda says, Fu Xuan damage mitigation can't be broken. Which is good, I guess. But neither can Jeopard right now. The enemies cannot break through Jeopard. If you have enough defense and energy regen, Jeopard will have his ultimate back before the enemies can break it. So it really depends on the enemies, I guess. There's a lot of people looking towards Fu Xuan to build a what do you call that? A mono quantum team. Maybe she will. Maybe she will need a healer. Maybe that's why the abundance quantum character is coming out too, right? Maybe Fu Xuan does need it. I don't know. Yeah, like people are saying, like, what if enemies ignore shield? What if we get these dimensional wolfhounds that that flies around and ignores your shields? Oh. Damage mitigation, huh? That's her niche. I don't know. I don't know. I think she's gonna be all right. I'm sure there's gonna be uses for her, but how game changing is she and how like influential she'll be, we'll have to see. We really have to see. Hoyoverse can make her very good if they alter the memory of chaos to favor her, like severely favor her. But I think most people who have healers and like maybe even other preservation, even 4 stars by then, could just ignore this character. I don't know. Rodad says, I plan to have a mono team for every element eventually. God damn. Well, that's gonna be that. I think Fu Xuan's alright. I don't think she's bad just by looking at this, but honestly, I don't feel like, oh my god, I really need this character. Then again, you can't have that for every character, because then it's just like, it'll never end. It'll never end. So, yeah. I'm gonna call it at that. Thank you guys so much for watching. But yeah, leave a comment down below what you thought for any of the topics of discussion here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Actually, I have a special guest for Saturday's stream, maybe, or I'm currently in the works with a collaboration with another creator. You guys might know them. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Until then, urge y'all to stay safe. Peace, peace. Bye bye.